Hello everyone, I am cryptorenzi and this is your channel for Apex Bitcoin and crypto news. And it's great to be back. Yes, I was away for Thanksgiving. I headed over to Europe. This was the first Thanksgiving I actually wasn't in America. For those of you that have never been to Europe, I highly encourage you to go. Such amazing people, such beautiful architecture and buildings. Cannot speak highly enough of Europe, its people, and its culture. But yes, while I was gone, obviously a lot of amazing stuff did happen with Bitcoin as expected, as we did talk about before. But before we dive in, I want to welcome everyone back. In case you are new here, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button as well as the bell icon so you're notified of all my latest shows. And on that note, as far as subscribers go, I am on a mission to get to 500 and then as well as obviously 1,000 and so on. We're going to do our first giveaway on this channel when we hit 500 subscribers. So we're like 2 away from 300, so a little over 200 to go. And then we'll do another giveaway at 1,000. And then I'll continue to do giveaways with bigger and bigger prizes as we continue to grow. So again, just a thank you to each and every one of you that have subscribed. And a thank you as well to those of you that are soon to be subscribers. Okay, now Bitcoin. Bitcoin has crested over, at the making of this video, $42,000. Before I left, we were still hovering around 36, 37,000. But we did talk about it's going to be time for this to take off soon. There's so many catalysts that we're going to actually speak about today. But the title of the video is definitely not clickbait, okay? It's very important to understand this is going to be your last chance to buy right now at these prices. I mean, unless something cataclysmic happens in this world, similar to like how we had with the mess with COVID, I don't see Bitcoin going lower from here. You might get some tiny little bumps down, but it's not going to be anything that you're going to be able to really pack your bags on. So hopefully you have been listening to me. You have been dollar cost averaging in because the journey is about to start. And I want to go over the catalyst that is going to make this happen. But before we do that, let's go ahead and look at the market. As you can see, the fear and greed index is at 75, which is nice to see. People are finally starting to wake up a little bit as to what's going on. But the three big ones that I have been watching, as you know, is Bitcoin, again, up over 7 days, over almost 13%. Ethereum now is crested over 10% for the last 7 days. And Solana, again, up 11%. So these are the three that I've really kept my eye on. They have been doing exceptionally well, pretty much outperforming everything else here, as you can see in the top 8. And let's go ahead and look at the heat map. And again, these are the two big ones here. Why do I say that? It's going to be because of one of the catalysts, which I'm going to speak on in a second. And that's the spot Bitcoin and Ethereum ETF around the corner. So this is where you really want to start focusing your attention. Like I said, I hope you have been dollar cost averaging into Bitcoin. Remember, Bitcoin is the fastest horse. It's the safest bet. It's where you truly want to be. It's the ultimate foundation you need. But people do like diversification. And now Ethereum is going to be second choice as far as safety, just because it's starting to get mainstream adoption as well. All right, now let's go ahead and look at the Bitcoin chart. Okay, now I went ahead, this is the weekly chart. I went ahead and backed up the chart to right around about 2020 of June. So you can kind of see right before the last halving cycle. And you can start to see how we climbed up here. We started that uptrend. Okay, and if you fast forward almost, 3.5 years, here we go again. We're starting that uptrend. So it's just nice to see we're over $40,000 and we haven't been there since when we broke down here on April 11th of 2022. So, yep, we had that voracious downtrend, and then we basically have been on an uptrend since then. What's nice, a very important thing I want you to see in case maybe you're new to Bitcoin. Bitcoin's all about making higher highs, not lower lows. So remember, before we started here last bull cycle, where were we at? Right here. Sorry, let me move this so I can see better. We were right around $10,500 before we started the initial push last time. Now, you could say, let's just call it right here at this bottom, $27,000. So you can see the radical difference of the bottoms before we start our incline. Okay. So just something to look at. You know, past results definitely don't indicate future earnings, but it's something to look at to map everything out. And I'm telling you, the catalyst coming up is going to be powerful and exciting. And I want to keep driving this point home. I want to make sure we help as many people as we can. I want to make sure those of you that have been doing the right thing, dollar cost averaging in, congratulations, you are doing the right thing. You're going to be heavily, heavily rewarded with the way Bitcoin is really starting to shape up. Now, let's go ahead and get into the catalysts I've been speaking about. So the first catalyst that you need to be paying attention to is the potential spot Bitcoin ETF approval. When this happens, just from what I've seen lately, again, in my opinion, I thought we may get a $3,000 to $4,000 candle. I'm thinking, honestly, it might be more like a $7,000 to $10,000 candle once this gets approved. And there's so much more to touch on in this area. But let's just head over to one page. I want to show you the date adjustment on this, and then we're going to dive deeper into this topic. Definitely, indeed, mark your calendars. Bitcoin spot ETF approval window is officially January 5th through January 10th. So when we all come back and start the new year, get ready for some powerful videos, some excitement moving in the market, and just you're going to get to sit back and really watch some fireworks. No pun intended. Really, this means that any potential approval orders are going to come on either Monday, January 8th, Tuesday, January 9th, or Wednesday, January 10th. Mark your calendars, people. Yes, yes, yes. This is going to be exciting. So that's definitely catalyst one. But there's a lot to unpack just in that first catalyst. Because I need you to understand something important that I personally don't hear a lot of people talking about. There's so much more going on here with the Bitcoin ETF that I don't think a lot of people understand. And I did touch on this on my BlackRock videos. There are like, I think 12 or 13 companies competing to get a spot Bitcoin ETF. So who's going to be the first? How this is going to play out? I personally think what would be fair, what would make Gary Gensler's life easy, just approve them all at the same time and let the free market decide who's going to be the pinnacle. Okay, that I think is my personal opinion, what would be best. I don't think it would be rational to just choose one company. Say you do ARK Investment with Cathie Wood. Then she kind of has precedent to hurry and buy up all her Bitcoin she needs. You, ladies and gentlemen, you have to understand, remember, there's a certain amount of Bitcoin everyone has to buy in order to even apply for these spot Bitcoin ETFs. But once approved, they have to go out in the market and actually acquire all this Bitcoin. So anytime someone purchases Bitcoin from their ETF, they have to have the actual Bitcoin to back it one for one. Now imagine the pandemonium if for some reason I'm right and Gary Gensler approves all of them at the same time. Do you have any idea how you might wake up one morning and the price of Bitcoin has amplified $10,000 to $15,000? That is very possible. Now, it all depends on how these scenarios play out. We could have a scenario where only one gets approved. So just something to think about. Again, those of you that have been watching my channel, those of you that are savvy and know what you're doing with Bitcoin, you already know this stuff. But it's imperative, I'm speaking to the people that are still on the sidelines, don't have any Bitcoin, or just kind of waiting, because the sad truth about people that buy cryptocurrency is the majority of them buy at the top. They buy into the rally. That's a huge mistake. I've been preaching since I started my channel in July of this year. Buy Bitcoin, buy it now while it's down. That's what you want to do. Too many people start purchasing it after all these massive green candles start printing. And then your dollar cost averaging, everything, your cost basis is just all messed up now. But we just had Black Friday, right? Most people went nuts because, oh, let me buy everything at discount. I never understood why people don't do that with investing. It was Black Friday all the time in July, in August, in September, right? In part of October. That was all Black Friday. That's when you should have been buying Bitcoin like crazy. Again, like the title of this video, this is your last chance. In my humble opinion, $41,000, $42,000 is still very cheap. Remember, you don't have to buy a whole Bitcoin. You can buy whatever you want. You can buy $10 of Bitcoin. You can buy $10 of Bitcoin every week. And for those of you that think that doesn't make a difference, sadly, you're wrong. It makes a huge difference because you're constantly stacking Satoshis. You're adding to your bag every week. You're not having to worry about the price. Your dollar cost averaging in, and you're lowering your cost basis if there's any unforeseen dips in Bitcoin. But we're getting to the point where Bitcoin's about to start to take off. The downward dips you have are going to be short and small. Again, barring any catastrophe in the world. But this is a journey. You want to stay on this journey and you want to stay focused and diligent. Because one of the first things I spoke about early on this channel was that you're not going to have many years to buy Bitcoin. And now it seems like that window is shrinking more and more rapidly. So I don't know what more to do to convince you the time is now. Okay. I want to be able to look back and know I preached a good word. I helped as much as I could to get all of you to wake up who were on the fence. Those of you, again, that already have your Bitcoin, please understand, I'm not trying to keep pressing that point down your throat. But even as I traveled to Europe, I tried to orange pill a lot of people. And for those of you that don't know what that means, that's just speaking the truth about Bitcoin, how important it is, how powerful it is, especially to people in Europe. It's life-changing, especially some of the places that I traveled in Europe. And most people don't understand the concept. See, people have a problem with something that's not tangible. If they can't see it or hold it, they have a problem understanding it. And I just went down so many rabbit holes trying to explain this as best as I could. But at the end of the day, remember, you're going to get Bitcoin at the price you deserve. And unfortunately and sadly for most people, they're not going to have any. So that's why I keep harping on the point of the example of the person who can only buy maybe $10 a week. Don't kid yourself. You are way ahead of the game. Sadly, most of the world doesn't even know what Bitcoin is. And by the time the world knows what it is, it's going to be so expensive, it's not going to be fathomable for anybody. That's the sad, harsh reality. Let's go ahead and get to the next catalyst. The Ethereum ETF, right? That's also going to cause a frenzy in the market. And we don't know. Gary Gensler might shake things up and approve that one first. And don't kid yourself, that's still going to have a massive impact on Bitcoin because they're all going to pull each other up. It's like strings, right? They're all just going to, it's something you really need to think about. You do not want to miss what's coming. Let's go ahead and talk on the third catalyst. The halving cycle is coming next year as well. It's going to be in a little over 5 months. So 5 months away from the halving cycle. So again, another powerful catalyst. The fourth one is next year's an election year. And again, no matter which side of the aisle you're on, every election year, you can go back and look at the history, whether you're Democrat or Republican, it doesn't matter. Everybody comes together to figure out what they need to do to make sure the stock market, and honestly, since crypto has started, the crypto market perform well. Now, even though the politicians haven't really looked at crypto much 10 years ago or so, there's always been this positive catalyst that has affected the equity markets. It's always happened if you go back and look. But this year is going to be interesting. Okay, I want to make a note. Let's put a little asterisk by what I'm saying, because I'm going to kind of spin this on, honestly, I think the true catalyst is not necessarily going to be the election, but it's going to be how people are now moving into Bitcoin as a safe haven, because there is money coming out of the stock market. And I'm going to touch on this in a second. Definitely, you're going to want to stay till the end. I'm going to talk on an interesting news bit that happened while I was away that I want to address in this video that basically ties into what I'm saying. But there's money coming out of the stock market, and it seems to be going into the crypto market. Just something to think about. But again, whether history repeats itself or not, you have a positive catalyst to look forward to with the election year. But if for some reason, with all the printing and inflation of the US dollar and how bad everything has been, if it just for some reason, God forbid, the market tanks next year, and the market, I'm talking about the stock market, that's actually going to be a catalyst for the crypto market, in my opinion. There's too many things pumping up the crypto market that could potentially hold it down. More and more rocket fuel is being poured into the Bitcoin rocket. It's just a matter of time until the match is thrown. And speaking on Bitcoin as a safe haven, I want to talk about an article from someone that I highly respect, someone that appears sometimes on CNBC. And this gentleman just speaks the truth. He's extremely well educated and he truly knows what he's talking about. And his name is 𝗕𝗪𝗠𝗪𝗓. Now let's go ahead and look at what he spoke of a few weeks ago. And again, this is something I talked about in my last video before Thanksgiving about how bonds are just being destroyed and people are starting to move their money out of bonds into Bitcoin. Larry Fink was talking about this as well. Bitcoin is emerging as a safe haven asset, with the U.S. Treasury bonds falling out of favor in the wake of the Israel-Hamas conflict, according to 𝗕𝗪𝗠𝗪𝗓. You have people talking about Bitcoins, about equity, being the safe asset, because they've lost confidence in government bonds, being the safe asset, because of the nature of the interest rate risk, 𝗕𝗪𝗠 told CNBC on Tuesday. And it's so true what he said. I've never really been a big fan of bonds. They have their place. They serve their purpose. But in my opinion, unless you're over 65 years old, you shouldn't have any bond exposure. Again, that's my opinion, because bonds have not served people well. They really haven't. It's way too conservative when they were good. Now they're just pure garbage. So they really need to go. And Larry Fink even said this. Larry Fink controls more money than anyone in the world. And he controls very, very wealthy people who have a ton of bonds, and they're all starting to move out of bonds. And guess where they're going? They're all going to be going into the Bitcoin ETF. Now, there's another thing that happened while I was going that is rather interesting. Now, again, this is pure speculation on my part, okay? I have no inside information or true actual news on this other than what I've read. But I find this very interesting. It deals with Mark Cuban. Mark Cuban has basically changed a lot of stuff in his life recently. He's leaving Shark Tank, and he even sold the majority share and stake of his ownership in the Dallas Mavericks. And I find this rather interesting. But let's go ahead and look at some of these articles as I elaborate on this point. So it came to my attention that Mark Cuban is leaving Shark Tank. This is interesting because their ratings have been phenomenal. But it begs the question, Mark Cuban is brilliant. He's a genius. Anybody who is a billionaire and who wasn't given any help, remember, Mark Cuban's self-made, which is very impressive. No one gave him anything. That is a true genius because it's very hard to get to billionaire status on your own. Now, he's notorious for timing the market. He did it quite well back in the day, to the fact of basically that's what made him a billionaire. He had got in early, started a tech company, and then turned around and sold it, and then did his sports thing on the side, and everything was timed perfectly. So this is the second time he's doing this, and it's interesting because, as I stated earlier, there's potential for the stock market to be rough next year. Let's just put it that way. Again, not necessarily. There's conflict because election years are usually positive, but so much money has been printed, so much inflation has happened. It'll be interesting to see. Let's just say I'm kind of sitting on the fence on that. But it's interesting how Mark Cuban is all of a sudden trying to become as cash rich as possible right now. He also sold the majority stake in the Dallas Mavericks. Now, to me, this seems more interesting because, a lot of people with television, you could say, well, television is starting to die off, right? You're watching me on YouTube. YouTube is truly taken over. Anything you want to learn is on YouTube, completely free. I mean, it's amazing. YouTube University is just, wow, it's the way to go, right? Truly phenomenal. So television is just, starting to die off as far as cable. Everything's turning more subscription based. And Mark Cuban, I believe, is a visionary enough to see this. So he probably wanted to get out on top. But to me, more of a head scratcher is the Dallas Mavericks. The only thing I can see is he wants to continue to add to his cash position because obviously he's ready to deploy it somewhere else, which I find interesting. Now, for those of you that live in America, one of the biggest status symbols would be to own a professional sports team. So the fact that he's given up almost all of his shares, he's going to keep some shares, but it's interesting to me. And as you can see here, Dallas Mavericks owner Mark Cuban has entered into an agreement to sell a majority stake in the NBA franchise to the family that runs the Las Vegas Sands Casino Company, which is interesting. I know exactly who this is. So the arrangement would be in the valuation range of $3.5 billion. Las Vegas Sands is owned by Mr. Sheldon Adelson. Now, unfortunately, he has passed away, but his wife has taken over the company, Miss Miriam. And she is the one who had recently sold $2 billion worth of her stock to get it into cash in order to make this purchase. So very, very interesting how cash heavy Mark Cuban wants to be right now. And for those of you that know Mark Cuban, you know he's a huge crypto guy. He has been for quite some time, and he's always been very bullish on it. So it kind of begs the question, is he getting ready to really get behind Bitcoin? You never know. Only time will tell. Well, again, I just hope those of you that are sitting on the fence are going to finally start to get in on Bitcoin. I truly would hate to see you get left behind. FOMO is real. Everything I'm saying, I truly mean, because I'm going to continue to make videos, and a month or two from now, you're going to continue to see how much more expensive Bitcoin is. It's just going to continue to grow and grow and grow. And there's going to get to a point where you're going to be like, wow, okay, now Bitcoin's over $100,000. I guess I'll buy. And what's sad is if you'd have bought today, you'd have more than double what your purchasing power is going to be then. So just something to think about. Thank you for staying till the end. I appreciate each and every one of you. Please don't forget to subscribe. Share this video with somebody who really needs to see it. And remember, tomorrow is not promised to anyone. Live every day to the fullest. God bless you, and I'll see you next time. And please, guys, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, smash that like for me, and I'll see you